great to be here. Love Mother's Day. So I hope all the mums here have been really treated. My children never give me breakfast in bed, but before you look down on them, that's because I really hate breakfast in bed. I don't like the crumbs. But they've been loving on me anyway. So happy Mother's Day to all the mums out there. So I'd like to begin with a little meme. So who knows that mums and dads are a little bit different? So I don't know if any of the mums out there get questions like, where's my shirt? I'm cold. Is dinner ready yet? I can't find my fill in the blanks. I'm cold. Mum, can I? Any mums relate to that? Yeah. And dads, where's mum? I'm very grateful to my husband who's trying to change that culture a little bit and be like, come and ask Dad. We're working on that a little bit, but I'm very grateful for the effort. Okay. Now, before I begin in earnest, I'd just like to acknowledge that Mother's Day is not a one-size-fits-all kind of occasion. At the outset, I just want to acknowledge some of the difficult aspects that there are for some people. First of all, there's all the people whose mum has gone on before. It's difficult to lose a mum no matter what your age is, but if you're like a friend of ours who lost her mum when she was 6 weeks old, there's a particular kind of pain that goes with that. Every Mother's Day, she and her family would let a helium balloon go to give a bit of tangibility to the mum that she always loved but never knew. Then there are the mums who have lost a child. There is a sense of unfairness that often accompanies this kind of grief. Should have been me. I should have gone first. Burying all the hopes and dreams that were wrapped up in that child, whether miscarried, stillborn, or fully grown. Then there are those people who would have liked to be a mum, but for a variety of reasons this was not to be. Medical issues, age, never married, miscarriages. Mother's Day can be very difficult. Then there are those of us for whom our relationship with our mum or our children is broken or strained. These hopes, dreams, wishes are still there, but there's no way to communicate them or to receive them. The person is alive, but the connection is not. And for those of us for whom motherhood has been very hard, for those of us who have had to navigate postnatal depression, the disability of a child, mothering on our own, whether a single mum or dads trying to do single mum work as well, or for those of us for whom being mothered has been really hard, having a mother who was not able to mother in the way that we needed due to mental illness, absence, or just poor skills. So before I go on, I'd like to just spend a moment in prayer. Prayer to remember those who have gone on before us, those who are grieving in their varied ways. So if we could just close our eyes. Wairua tapu, we welcome you to minister to us. Those of us who are grieving and hurting, for whom today is a painful reminder. Thank you that you know each of our journeys intimately and that you intercede on our behalf. But not only that, you comfort us where we are at. You counsel us about how to carry on. You walk the journey with us. You minister to our hearts at a depth no other human being can reach. You reach out, hold us close, and cover us with your wings. You lead us through the valley of the shadow of death. You are gentle with us. You are El Roy, the God who sees. And while you know our griefs and weaknesses, you still prepare a table for us. Amen. So I am so grateful, just as we've been singing about in the worship today, that we serve a God who loves us to bits, who really cares where we're at. And so while I want to celebrate Mother's Day and mums, I also just want to let you know that God is there, whatever your situation. He loves you, He cares, He understands your pain, and that's what He's here for. So I'd like to honour some mums today. And I'd like to start with my own mum. This photo was taken a month ago on her birthday. She was largely a stay-at-home mum, for my growing up anyway. She is an incredibly capable woman. She's very creative and taught herself many arts and crafts along the way, how to cook for a variety of specific dietary requirements, and if you know my husband, you know how important that is. Her hospitality was second to none, although I think Pastor Jess might rival that. She makes up beds with all the mitre corners, and if you're a nurse, you'll understand what that is. And often there's candlelight and fine china. And for the handful of you that have come to visit my mum, you'll understand what I mean. She always made birthdays really special. And because her love language is gifts, every gift was very thoughtful. She trained as a nurse, and I understand that she did very well. She won the Florence Nightingale Award. And she was always amazing when we were sick. In fact, I quite enjoyed being sick. She nursed my grandmother and my dad's dad at the end of their lives. And now that my own dad is unwell, she is helping him navigate his sickness too. She took me to Christian conferences before I was 10, and had a very vibrant prayer life. Occasionally I'd get up at an ungodly hour to go to the toilet, and there she'd be in the lounge, and I'd be like, "Mum, what are you doing?" She was like, "I just needed more time to pray." She told us stories of God's provision in her life and the life of our little family. And after dinner, there was up to an hour of Bible readings and readings out of books such as "For This Cross I'll Kill You," "Faith Like Potatoes," "Visions Beyond the Veil," "Hey God" by Frank Foglio, "Gifted Hands," but always prayers. So my mum has instilled a lot of awesome stuff into me, and I'm very grateful for my mum. Happy Mother's Day, Mum. And here we have Scotty's mum, my wonderful mother-in-law. She has sowed so much into Scotty, so much unconditional love, and all of that love is still bearing fruit in our little family today. So thank you, Glenys. I had the pleasure of meeting two of my great-grandmothers. Up here we've got Dorothy Lovett, who I figured out yesterday is who Stephanie looks like. And she was the one that started the tradition of Bible readings around the dinner table. And then there is Louise Ahia, who was so quiet and so shy, I don't actually remember her talking. But one day we had a family occasion when I was about 14, and I just sat next to her and she held my hand, and I felt like she just really understood me. So I don't know what it was. It might have been her wairua, but she was an amazing lady. She made a big impression by saying nothing. Next we've got my grandmothers. On this side, we have Grandma. She had the best toy cupboard in her rumpus room and insisted on serving all her condiments in crystal vessels, including the tomato sauce and the vinegar. She made the best apple shortcake and taught me the clean as you go thing in my kitchen. She had amazing patience in teaching me how to knit. I don't know how many times I asked her again, how do you do purl? But she kept telling me, and now I can knit, thanks to her. Then we've got my little gran, who's always been very stylish. So, yeah, that's kind of passed on to some of my children, not really me. But she could be relied on to have just juice and some eats. Whenever you came to drop in, there was usually a chat, some laughs, and a generally good time, drawing on a lifetime of counselling, nursing, and camp mumming. She taught me about milksop, was an excellent housekeeper and a voracious reader, and she also had an amazing spiritual life. It was just amazing to hang out in her presence. She was amazing. Yeah, so thank you, grandmas. Now, in my growing up, we moved around a lot, including to the South Island. And so I had a lot of other mums that I needed to borrow because we didn't have any extended family in the South Island. So I'm going to talk about some of these. I was name dropping, hoping that Pastor Jesse might know some of these people, but maybe not. So we lived in Oamaru and went to a Baptist church, and there was a group of elderly ladies there who babysat me. And when my mum was giving birth, looked after me and made delectable school lunches and the most impressive banana loaf, which I again hear that Pastor Jesse might rival that. And they taught me memory verses, one of which I can still remember to this day. So, yay for children's ministry teachers. We love you. You do an awesome job. Thank you so much. And then we moved to Auckland, and in the Auckland church there was Jenny Gill, who was a single lawyer who chose to mentor me and my sister. Now you'll notice that she's not actually a mum, but I bring her up because there are people out there who don't have physical children, but they still have spiritual children. So she made a big impact in my life. I'd also like to mention Trish Clark, who did a prophetic workshop when I was about sort of 19, 20. And here is one of the pictures that I saw that we recreated. So you'll notice that this is Tamaya, Kira, and Stephanie, and they are looking at Te Kuri Apawa, young Nick's head. I'd never been to Gisborne. I didn't know what Te Kuri Apawa was. But in my 20s, thanks to Trish Clark, I had an insight into what God had for me. Scotty had the picture of me holding Aidan, but that's another story. Then there was Ruth Gibson, who was a widow in her 70s or maybe 60s, who co-led the young adults group with me. and Sue Kerr, who was one of the youth leaders of my friend's church, who welcomed me on a whole bunch of youth camps, and we met and discovered the Holy Spirit there. So again, that was incredibly impacting on my life and helped me understand about spiritual gifts, but also ministry and stuff like that. And again, their input has been incredibly valuable. Some of them were single, some of them were married, some of them had kids, some of them didn't, but they all mothered me in a very important way. Then, finally, I came to Gisborne for a job at the hospital, and I ended up at House of Breakthrough on my first Sunday, where Cy Rogers, for those of you who know Cy Rogers, was speaking about some very deep emotional stuff, and I ended up ugly crying. Great introduction. But this lovely Māori lady gave me a big hug. I apologised to her, saying I was a bit emotional, seeing as I'd just left home. She said, "That's okay. My daughter has just left home too." So if you're out there listening, I'll always be very grateful to you for your kindness that day. I don't know who she is, but she made a big impression. I'd also like to mention Donna Kennedy, who was at the 8:30 service this morning. Donna Kennedy was the first person to invite me home for lunch when I arrived here. It happened to be a rained-out church picnic day, and so we had the sandwiches that we were going to be eating at the church picnic. She awhi'd me, she offered to sit with me at church, and eventually invited me to join the church netball team. When I broke my hand, Hooks is laughing. When I broke my hand at a practice, not even a game, just goes to show my netball skills, Auntie Donna and Auntie Debs, who was also at the first service, picked me up from the hospital because I actually didn't know the phone numbers of anybody in Gisborne yet, apart from them. And I only knew Auntie Donna's one because I'd been to her house, I knew what street she lived on, and we could look it up in the phone book. So they picked me up from the hospital and they cooked me dinner because I didn't trust myself to use a knife with my left hand. So she made me feel really welcome at House of Breakthrough. Is there anyone else here who's been awhi'd by Auntie Donna? Yeah. She is awesome. Yep. Tautoko that. And then there are the playgroup mums, and I tried really hard to find some photos of this, but technology was not my friend. So, during the 12 years that I spent at playgroup, because I had lots of preschoolers, I made some awesome friends, and so did my kids. We had a pregnancy epidemic one year, so we would warn people, if you join up, this is what will happen. Didn't we, Marta? I learned so much about how other people do mum life. I learned about, so your kid does that too. Tanita? Yeah, you guys are the best. I made so many great friends, and I'm just so glad that I met you. We built some relationships that you just simply can't do on a Sunday. And then there are the three ladies who God put it on their heart to help me out in my home. I can see one of them over there. One of them was here this morning, and one of them has moved away. I'll be forever grateful for the moral support that you gave me, the gentleness you showed me, and for being open to the voice of God and walking in humility. Thank you so much. When my own family lives so far away, I really appreciate those kind of things. Does anybody know these people? So Auntie Maggie is my parenting hero. After asking what would Jesus do, I ask, what would Maggie do when it comes to all the parenting, mothering things that I couldn't copy Jesus for? There's the way she would talk to kids and that they would know that they were respected and loved, but they also needed to do what she asked. The way she would sow God's truth into their little hearts. The way she would get them to keep looking for improvement while at the same time calming their deepest fears. The way she would be at every school and sports event for her kids, helping out and being able to be a positive influence without being overbearing. Her gift of wisdom has been invaluable to me, both in the spoken words, but also in my observation of what she does. Thank you, Maggie. And Pastor Jess. Pastor Jess has been here since the day dot. Sewing, investing, keeping the house ticking over, counselling, particularly me, creating, teaching, things like women's mentoring, which I've been to a few times. Providing necessary structure here, growing, hospitality, birthing new things, and years and years and years of taking care of business. Without her, none of the rest of us would be here. So thank you, Jess. Thank you for sewing all the things. Thank you for your consistent mahi here. Thank you for being such an example to us. Thank you for creating an environment for us to grow. Okay, so to finish up, I'd like to tell two stories. One is of my great-great-grandmother, Mercy Jane Pound. So she would pray regularly for her children, but also for successive generations. I'm one of those, way down the line. But just like King David would pray, King David sowed and invested. And King Solomon got to reap the benefit of that, even though his own life wasn't up to scratch. I may not be here because of my own goodness, but because of the sacrifices of those who have gone before me. So I just want to honour this lady because of her sacrifice that I'm reaping the benefit of today. And I also just want to encourage you, if you are a first-generation Christian, this is what you're starting. I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful, and I understand that, but I also understand that not everybody is there. And so if you are the first person to have chosen Jesus in your family, then that is tremendous. And I would love it if your children's children could get up and honour you for the sacrifices that you're making today. So I want to encourage you with that, because sometimes being a mum goes really well. Things happen the way that we expect, and it's really great. We get to have all the warm fuzzies and the bits and pieces, but sometimes mum life doesn't go the way that we expect. And this is where God is at his best. We heard from Tanita earlier today about God doing the impossible. And I'm so glad that as a mum, it's not 100% up to me. Yes, I need to do my best. Yes, I need to sow. Yes, I need to be a good example. Yes, I need to do all of that. That is true. But when all is said and done, my children belong to God. He made them. He's got good plans for them. He's the one that can do the impossible things that me, an ordinary human being, who's imperfect, I tell you, can't do. So I just want to leave that with you today. God can do amazing things. And to all you mamas out there, a big encouragement. You'll notice that mama bears are the fiercest ones. You get on the wrong side of them or their babies, oh my goodness, you're going to know all about it. Now, you might be a quiet, little demure person like some of my grandparents there, but in the spiritual, you can be a mama bear. There is so much that you can do, so much that you can fight for on your knees. And while we want to be a good example, while we want to sow what we can, especially while our children are still under our roof, we do our best and God does the rest, hey? Yeah. Cool. So I've covered a lot of stuff. Hopefully some of it's been encouraging no matter where you're at. To all the mums out there who are in the trenches doing a fabulous job, thank you so much for everything that you do. Every time that you wash the dishes or the clothes or clean the house, you are providing a place of dignity for your children. Every time they eat a nutritious meal, whether they like it or not, you are giving them dignity. I often think, if I didn't do this, what would it be like? I often don't want to imagine that. Those little things all the time, the consistent things that we do, they create an environment for our families. And in so doing, we can express part of the nature of God, which is to hold his chicks under his wings, just like a mother hen. It says in the Bible that even if a mother can forget her sucking baby, God never will. As I said before, I'm so grateful for the God that we serve, the God that sees, the God that knows, the God that understands, but also the God that helps us, hey? The God that stands beside us, teaches us stuff, encourages us, shows us the way, leads and guides us with the help of the Holy Spirit. I am so grateful for this God. I'm so grateful that I know him. I'm so grateful that all of you know him as well. So have a blessed Mother's Day, whatever your situation. If you still have a mum, I encourage you to make the most of her, appreciate her, tell her how much you love her, do whatever you can. With my dad's illness, I'm a little bit more aware that we never know how long we've got, and so make the most of the time, hey? So bless you, whānau. Thank you so much.
I hope the presence of Jesus encouraged you through that message. If you're a visitor or you're living in Gisborne, we'd like to invite you to come and experience the atmosphere of one of these services. We have a service on Sunday, 8:30. It's a quieter service. It's a communion service. We also have a 10:30 service, which is a bigger service, caters for the children and for the youth. And we also have a man church service at 6:30 p.m. once a month. The details for these services can be found below. Looking forward to seeing you soon. God bless.